All right, the recording is on. Welcome, everybody. This is the bi-weekly Cloud Custodian community meeting. A few quick things before we get started. This meeting is recorded and being broadcast on YouTube, so please be cognizant of that. And as always, we're under the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please be excellent to each other. Let me go ahead and share my screen with the notes. And I have a browser tab somewhere that I am lost in. One second, everyone. Sorry. Is that not working? Does anybody have the notes up that can share it in the meantime? I can try to figure this out. 1 second, please. Share window, that should work. I'll be right back.
Hey, Georgia, you're on mute.
Oh, this whole time. Hey, sorry, I was having some technical issues sharing. We're good to go now. Thank you. Let's see. Let's grab these and go as we go. Does anybody have anything burning on fire that they need to bring up for everyone before we start looking at incoming work and PRs? All right. The first is AWS filter to annotate security configuration and filter with security configuration attributes. It looks like Kapil and Sunny were looking at this one last.
Yeah, I think it's Sunny.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, just a reminder to take a look at it again.
Okay. Okay, so you just need a review on this. Okay, got you. 172. Okay. Elasticsearch added new action to enable audit logs to CloudWatch.
I think Kapil already looked at this and has some comments. We have fixed it as well.
Okay.
I think just a reminder to take a final look.
All right. Okay, you got any color on this one?
Not off the top of my head now.
Okay. This one I know people wanted to talk about. Handle Elastic IP ARN type Delta. AJ?
Yeah, so Kapil had a more recent comment on that, and that checks out. The gist of that one is that the way that Shield handles, like the ARNs that Shield expects specifically for Elastic IP are a bit out of whack. I was trying to handle that from the Shield side, but it looks like Kapil's suggestion is to just subclass the Shield stuff in the on the Elastic IP side and take care of any mismatches there, which seems fine too. I can tweak stuff there. So that seems fine to me. So I think that just means just kind of turning that PR inside out effectively, and moving some stuff around. which seems okay. I am going to need, so I see Darren, you're on, I don't know who else from Intuit. I just don't have access to Shield Advanced data. You need like a subscription to get that stuff. So once the stuff is in there, I'm going to need to get some tests together and get some recorded data. And because it's going to be hard to fix that and verify that it's actually working without that.
So do you just need us to run the unit test to do the recording?
Yeah, I'll try to get some tests in there, and then whether we try to sync up and like pair on the testing piece together or something. I don't know what'll be most sensible, but and check in either on the PR or in Slack.
Sure.
And try to figure something out.
Yeah. So for us, we have a question related to this whole ARM typing though, which is how do we know if this is the only API where it is out of whack and this doesn't follow the untyped formatting? Like,
so
like the PR that Kapil has put in, and I don't think it's possible to test everything, right? In terms of
no, the fun answer to that question is that we don't. We have the documentation, and sorry, Kapil, it sounds like you're.
Yeah, I was gonna say we test ARNs based on IAM effectively, and if a given service decides to go schizophrenic and invent their own ARN format, that A, doesn't happen very often, but B, we just have to deal with it as it happens, which is effectively what happened here. And I think in this particular case, there was like a historical EIP allocation. I think they just I think AWS normalized to Elastic IP for ARMS, and so it is a corner case. I don't on a compatibility thing, and the two services using different notions, but I don't think it's something that would actually be very common per se. Now, on a general basis, we have a way of validating all ARMS per IAM, which is effectively the gold standard. So, as far as our utilization of that is at the moment, simply on particular types and things. I mean, notionally, we could go further and try to use, like, instead of just using it as a validator, use that library as a tool to help generate. But I feel like that's probably marginal value at this point versus just checking. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. It doesn't put me at ease, but yeah, it does answer my question.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary because I mean, we're kind of relying on documentation, and we've seen AWS docs be incorrect before. So it's like, this could potentially have cascading effects, I guess, on other resources, which is, we also kind of wanted some help in verifying that these changes are not, because we're touching things in VPC, like we don't know from our side, without digging super deep into the code, whether or not it's going to be affecting potentially other resources or other filters or other actions, like say security group, for example, like the used filter when you're listing out ENIs and doing matching based on that, or EIPs if that's used somewhere else. Basically, it's a little bit scary that we caught this after the release. But yeah, just
so to give you more context, right? The PR that Kapil that you have created and we have merged. There are other things beside Elastic IP in there. So then we caught the one with Elastic IP, and then what about the rest? Like, how do we know if there are other corner cases like this? So we start looking at the different resources that were the untyped for the different resources that were touched. And then trying to compare, okay, now we have to go look through our hundreds of policy to see what policy might be affected by this. And it's not as a straightforward of, okay, this policy is dealing with this resource that was changed in the PR, whose untyped was changed in the PR, because as Skim was saying, it might be like a related resource, right? So there's really no easy way for us to really validate all of our policy are still working. And unfortunately, we don't have a good way right now to, I guess, actively monitor all of the Lambda execution for all of our hundreds of policies across thousands of accounts right now. And even if we monitor the Lambda execution, there might still be cases where, let's say, either the filter or the action, it doesn't go through the flow where it will actually match let's say the filter to then trigger the code path that require the ARN, and that's where things blow up.
Yeah, like we may not get explicit runtime errors, basically. But yeah, just kind of wanted to raise it and, just kind of run it through you guys. If there's any plans or ideas to make like testing more robust or hardened before like releases, so we're not breaking existing policies, or basically, should we expect users to, retest all of their policies on each release, or can we, somehow, I don't know, catch beforehand? I'm not sure. Just curious if there's better ways to identify and kind of avoid gaps. This way the community knows how to target, certain areas and build confidence in the version upgrade.
There's a lot of stuff to unpack there. So I heard a little bit about the previous ARN changes, which were when we corrected what were obviously incorrect ARNs to using the IAM reference. I believe I'm not sure I understand what the concern there was. It sounded like because EIP was there specifically around Shield, the question was about other resources and their changes. But in most cases, those were obviously broken. There wasn't a compatibility constraint or concern. Like the EIP one, it was very specific to that one resource. All the other ones were effectively, as far as I could tell, were just not valid. Some of them had typos, some of them were never correct. Like there was a guess on the ARN because no one knew, and it was guess incorrect. The specific changes about Shield are, but then I also heard about related resources, so and related filters. I don't know where that would come about in the sense of related typically by resource ID. In some cases, resource ID, the ARN is the resource ID, but like that is, again, I think we're taking a very specific instance which had some history but was also fairly unique in that. From a monitoring perspective, like there's also a question of you can set up log groups and streaming logs to aggregate to a central place. We can also look at metrics for the errors to see which ones on CloudWatch metrics to see which ones you want to investigate. Those Custodian does support directly publishing to like a centralized region account setup. And then policy testing, we have a spec for it. Would love to see people, if people are interested in working on it, like that's great. If I can find it, I think that we have a proposal. I think it's in a Google Doc. If anyone wants access to that Google Doc, I can make sure that they get it. But yeah, so 6407 is a proposal for policy testing as a tool that you can actually run to functionally test your policies. So if that's something of interest and anyone wants to work on it, we can definitely happy to walk through it with anybody, deep dive session and shepherd it through. But I also can't lead the implementation work myself, so definitely looking for contributors.
That's great. That's cool. And then, so this I guess resource was probably missed because I think that the apply, protection and then the filters, I guess we just weren't testing that for EIPs. Maybe it was just tested for other resources. I mean, it would have to be, right?
Well, generally for a lot of other resources, we also get we also have resource group tagging tests in place, which also effectively validate on like for our so I mean, if we look at Shield resources, what do we have? We've got load balancers, cloud fronts, API gateways, and EIPs. For all the other ones, we actually have other tests that are going through to validate them because we're using them for resource group tagging. Actually, there's one other one. I think there's is there like a NAT thing there? I have to look at Shield resources again. But of the ones I just listed, load balancers, cloud fronts, API gateways, we have numerous other tests that you can use and construct and consume the ARN against different APIs. So I don't know. Okay, so ditto for Route 53. EC2 instances, I don't think we actually use ARNs directly anywhere else, but I think we feel confident that those are correct. And then the one that I'm not sure about is Global Accelerator. That one might be worth looking at. All the other ones I could say off the top of my head are fine, except for the IP stuff.
Okay, so there's I guess some missing tests for EIP validation.
Specifically to Shield, and because this is a case where two AWS services have different notion of what an ARN is for a given
Right. I just mean we didn't basically we didn't catch that with a unit test, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Would it be even possible to catch it with unit tests?
Not the way we currently set up, unless we had a particular test directly against constructing the EIP. On the recorded test, we're not validating inputs, we're validating outputs. So not per se there. Yeah.
Basically just a test to, for the filter, and then also for the action, applying it specifically to the EIP resource. That would be the only thing probably that would have caught this, right?
I mean, I think the test would have to get to the granular level of constructing validating the ARN. Like if we had been validating the ARN for EIP, and then we would have caught it per se, like that we actually expect this.
Yeah, because given the unit test is all using recording, so you will either catch it when you first do the recording, or then if things change or anything like that, the only way I would imagine is once you record it, you have to like Kapil said, just to test the format of the ARN, the return ARN, right?
Yeah, and so ideally that if we knew that we needed a special construct around that particular ARN type, then we would have done that. The flip side is also release testing, I think, was another part of the original grouping of stuff. And so we have a set of functional tests. Effectively, if you write a test with PyTest Terraform, it gets marked as a functional test. And we effectively throw away the recordings and run it live using Terraform to construct stuff. You can do it manually, but with it can be done without the Terraform setup, but it's better with, because it's less recorded data that we have to deal with. And so if you're looking at tests, Terraform, those represent sort of...
Do those get run automatically, or are you saying like someone, when they do release, they can run that if they like?
It's been... we used to have them running nightly, and they're running in a Stacklet community account just for this purpose. I don't know that they've been there was at least one with setting up Kubernetes that caused it to go flaky for a bit. I think Sunny may have fixed that. I think there's a separate, but I don't think there's a separate question there. How visible are those test results? So we've been moving most of our CI infrastructure directly into GitHub Actions, and I think we're trying to talk to CNCF separately about CNCF basically paying the bill on that, because it's a couple $100 a month. It would be good just to have as project resources as opposed to corporate resources. So from a commissioning and executing it, anyone can run it. It's make F tests, I think, on the CLI. Let me keep myself honest, and yeah, make F tests on the CLI is the entry point. We just have to have some form of it, ideally running out of GitHub Actions. Recently, as part of redoing the doc build, we now have like an OIDC credential provider on that community account, such that the actions can access that environment. I think there's actually a separate. I think the functional test running is actually running out of a separate account just to keep it clean from like the website, in case you had to like run a nuke or something to clean up. But TLDR, it's there. It's not clear that it's fully paid attention to or that it's fully accessible in a public way on the results. Flip side is it is easy for anyone to run. Would it have caught this? No. Part of this is the fact that Shield requires a $3,000 payment to even get enabled, which causes issues for
Yeah.
Okay. So we basically are holding off on this 9.22 upgrade because we have some production policies that are using enable shield on EIP, the filter, and then also the action. I think this PR, from what I was seeing, is looking pretty good. AJ, it sounds like you need to make some changes, and then we need to help out with some of the described, shield resources, output. But is this something we think we can get as part of the next release, which I'm guessing is probably in, I don't know, a couple weeks out or something?
Yeah, I think so. Then generally we target middle of the week, so
yeah,
I guess that would ideally be next week.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to get this reworked and in there, and then hopefully we can get the test done too. And your point, Stephen, earlier about just testing more broadly for this stuff. I think the PR that made this change and kind of broke Shield and Elastic IPs was in the service of better overall ARN type testing. So so it feels like even though this was a misstep, like because of a very specific combination of factors, I think overall that change makes things more testable and more reliable, not less.
Okay.
Which is cool. But something release testing that might be worth doing if you're holding off on this stuff is, dry running a whole policy suite and comparing resource counts from one version to another. It's not going to hurt, aside from the potential API calls and stuff.
We wouldn't catch things like the action, though. I guess
it wouldn't catch the action. That's true. But you were saying that the filter was misfiring also.
Yeah, we caught it through the action because there was like a hard runtime error. But I'm thinking also, if we had those describe calls for EIP and we had a specific test for EIP, that would have also caught this, right? Like, I keep coming back to that because it's like if there was basically a test against EIP, like apply, run the filter and then apply the action, get the describe output, and then that's a test case, it would have caught the ARN change, wouldn't it have? I don't know why I'm... Darren, you're shaking your head.
I don't think so. Because the unit test will just record and replay.
Well, but it's comparing the ARN tag, right?
Yeah, so, and I did look at that for the test there, and this comes back to Kapil's point earlier about there being multiple types for multiple resource types that Shield protects.
Yeah.
Like there was a test for Elastic IPs. There was a test for testing the Shield filter. There is a test for enabling Shield, but the EIP test didn't account for a Shield specific ARN because they wouldn't. And the Shield tests weren't targeting EIP because they were listing protections, they were enabling protections, but not EIP specifically. They were focused on, I forget which resource type it was.
I see.
But it was another, so like, yes, we had to, and there's always, this like the unit testing rabbit hole. Like you can always cover so much, you could cover so many lines of code, and there's always going to be some combination of situations that you didn't expect.
For sure.
But it's fair. I don't want to say that the question isn't fair, because it is.
Okay, cool. So we'll probably just hold off until we get the next version upgrade, and then any help you need with the fix, just let us know, and we can provide some stuff to you guys. Yeah, we were thinking about exploring like, oh, we could explore like Firewall Manager, because Firewall Manager actually applies Shield to EIPs, and then move forward with this upgrade. But we think it'd be better just to wait until we have the clean fix for this one. But yeah, thank you guys for discussing.
No, thanks for reporting it, because I mean, obviously, we would not have come across it without using that resource.
Awesome.
Yeah, and AJ, you're gonna have to turn that around pretty quick if you want to get the testing time in. So
Gotcha.
be cognizant of that. All right. Anything else left on this one? Who was? Someone told me to add this one. I don't remember.
I boomed that. It's not
Okay.
from us, but we are interested in it too. Just want to bring that up. I think we looked at this before too.
Yeah, this number looks familiar.
Mhm.
We ran into this before, didn't we? Okay, so that's last year. Huh. Didn't we talk about this one before? Recently?
Probably
I
2
don't know
months
about
ago.
recently, but I think my feedback on this PR was that it was handling a specific quota as opposed to handling all quotas here. Like there's a specific, like, yeah, that line there, 175. I mean, I didn't see this addressed, or nor did I get a response back on this. So,
Too many changes in my fort to manage.
I mean, Darren, if you're hitting this as well, in your environment, it's probably easier for you to test. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, I'm operating like a small sandbox, really.
Mhm.
So
I actually tested this PR a couple of months ago, and it fixed the problem in the way it works. So I see that, like you mentioned, there's a specific quota is handling, and there may be further enhancement and improvement. But basically, this PR fixed the problem, fixed the error. Right now, the service quota is completely unusable because of this error.
Yeah, but I think Sunny's point is still valid though, that we don't want to put in code that's like how coding, let's say, this quota code, if there are other scenario that will have the same problem, right?
yeah, I mean, if it's weird that this would fix the problem, because if I'm recalling correctly, last time this quote is not the only one missing, period, which is why I found it odd. But I mean, yeah, if Darren, or whatever, if you want to take a look, like you can feel free to review it as well. Like,
yeah, let me take a look.
Yeah, a fresh review to see where we're at now would be useful on this one, I think.
No, Hito, did you actually have a chance to take a look at the code? I mean, besides
not
running
really.
it and
It
verifying.
was very, even the sample code in the documentation doesn't work right now, and I just run against the sample code, and I just pull this PR, without really reading it. I just pull this and it worked. So now going inside the code and what's right and right, I didn't really spend time on that.
Let me make it my action item then to take a look at the code to see if we can answer some of Sunny's question here. Yeah, because yeah, like Sunny said, it'd be hard for him to actually test this and fully understand this, since he doesn't have this problem on his account.
Yeah, especially if the example code doesn't work. All right, any questions on this one? All right, what else do we got? I got an interesting one on this Bodocore one, but that's all we really had. Does anybody have anything else outstanding, last minute things they want to add? AJ's dog.
I had an odd curiosity if anyone had any issues with the master main rename. I didn't hear any complaints or concerns, so I'm assuming it just worked for everybody.
Yeah, I was too busy to do the intro and stuff when I was wrestling with my browser, but I followed exactly what GitHub said, and it was like it worked. It didn't work that way before. I remember. I've gone through a few of these, so
Cool.
it was really nice. What did you just click a like? What was the process like for you? Did you just like
click a button? They've made it pretty seamless, and everyone who's got checkout on it, I think, gets that little, or commit access on the repo gets that little pop up on how to switch your repo to your checkout to pull from new.
Yeah.
I did hit one issue because I did a blind copy paste. I think I mentioned this in Slack because I've run that thing on other repos fine, the rename, but I had origin pointing to my fork and upstream pointing to the other one. So when I did the rebase, I blew up my local stuff.
You were backwards.
I had to like hard reset myself back to life. But that's that was all user error. Everything actually working with the upstream repos, perfect.
Yeah, in hindsight, if I would have known it was, see, I was worried. I was like, everyone who has a checkout is going to be broken, blah blah blah. But hey, all right. Anybody else have any?
I had a call out for one PR. I posted in the chat. It's already approved. I think it's looking pretty good, but I'm wondering if we can quickly check that out. We might add another test case to this one. Can you click on the files changed?
Yep, I got you.
Oh yeah. So we're not sure. This might break backward compatibility. Basically, Jazz, the guy that put this PR in, is going to retest it, but right now it's expecting that roll on. So when it tries to pull that roll on, basically we have other policies that are using this subscription filter. But when it tries to pull that roll on, I believe it's going to be none. And then we're passing none in there, so this might actually break.
That's a good catch.
Yeah,
we should filter. We should only add parameters if specified.
Yeah, I asked him to add the test case of basically when there is no role provided, so it doesn't break backward compatibility. Hopefully there's no issues with it, but if there is an issue with that case, then we'll probably need to modify this logic a little bit. So just a call out to maybe put this on hold, don't merge it yet.
Cool. Added a comment there, and I'll go ahead and remove on or dismiss the approval.
Cool, thanks. But yeah, he should be adding that test case. It may be totally fine, but he's going to be adding it in probably today and just validating that.
Cool. Any other easy ones? None of them are easy. This list, it never gets short. It's just the same. All right, and with that, unless anybody has any other agenda, I'll give 22 minutes back. Going once, going twice. Quick reminder for those of you watching on video, if you stayed to the end, if you're headed towards KubeCon, Kapil and I will be manning the Cloud Custodian booth. So if you want to come hang out, spend some time with us, get your hands on some stickers, that kind of stuff. We're always looking for more volunteers to help out with the booth and stuff like that. So if you're going to KubeCon in Amsterdam, holla at me. Anything else? All right, great, everybody. The video will be up on YouTube in about 24 hours, and see y'all in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming and taking the time.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Later.